Okie dokie. Looks like you can probably figure out that this lesson is going to be on circles. I don't know if it was the giant word that says circles or the circular inner tubes that those boys are about to jump into the refreshing, cool lake with. I don't know. But I do know that hopping into the lake on a hot summer day sounds like a lot of fun. So we better get moving on before we get caught up with having fun stuff. All right, so we're looking at some real life examples of some circles. The Ferris wheel down there at the very bottom has numerous sets of circles in it. Of course, there's the outer circle, and then there's some of these inner circles that create, um, just keep it together so it doesn't fall apart or roll away, one of the two. Talking about tires, tires are made up of circles, and we want the circular edge of the rim to match the circular edge of the tire. It's kind of important, that way your tire holds air. We're well past the stages of using wooden wheels to haul our wagon around. And circular, I guess you could probably say that these planets are circular in shape. Now, we know that from living on Earth that the Earth is not a perfect circle along the edge because we have mountains and we have valleys, but in general, it's a circular shape. And the orbits are not necessarily circular, so don't think that just because you only see part of the orbit and it looks circular. Remember, they are not circles. Then also here in the cornfield, circles help aliens to draw really nice pictures in cornfields. There's a lot of circles here that they're using. Then you get a bigger one, then you got the giant one, and then you got the one that connects it all together and makes it. What's the term that I'm looking for? Would we say that this is symmetrical? I don't think it's symmetrical. A lot of it looks symmetrical, right? But you see this part right here? Not symmetrical because it's not right there. That's probably why it's not symmetrical. What about if we went down through this way? Still not symmetrical. So, anyways, but circles help aliens make cornfields look interesting. Here's the standard equation of a circle, x minus h. In parentheses, we want to square that, and then we want to add y minus k in parentheses, and then we want to square that, and that's equal to the radius squared. So we've seen hk before, right? The vertex of a parabola in vertex form, we use those hk again, except hk is going to be the center of the circle. Center of the circle. So if you ever want to know why this works, it's the Pythagorean theorem. If we notice, don't we have like something squared plus something else squared is equal to the final thing squared if we add these two together? So you notice how we add these two together to equal the radius squared? And so it is Pythagorean theorem there. Okay, so this is the standard equation of a circle that falls anywhere on an xy axis. Of course, if this is the center of the circle, we don't need to worry about h and k. It's just going to say x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, and that's only if the center of the circle is at the origin. But it's not that way always, so it's nice to remember this. Okay, so basically I have some examples here that we're going to work through. These are standardized test prep questions. Kind of fits. If you don't have this equation memorized, you probably need to write it down next to your notes there and keep it handy. So it says, what is the equation of a circle with the center 3, negative 6, and a radius of 15 over 8? So of course, we're going to say x. Now, is it minus or is it plus? Well, if you don't know, you probably need to look. It says x minus h. So if we have x minus h is going to be 3, we're going to square that. Then we say y, is that minus or is that plus? Well, you probably need to check. There you go. So we have minus, but in this case, the y value is negative 6, so we're going to make it a plus 6. y minus negative 6 makes it plus. And then we have 15 over 8 as our radius, and we need to square that. So right now we can look, C and D are canceled off because it says plus there. And you notice that these are the same in both of them. But here's the answer. We're supposed to square the radius. So 15 squared is 225, 8 squared is 64. There's your answer. Okay, let's look here. What's the equation of this circle? Basically, you have to identify the center first. So identify the center. The center is going to be negative 1, 1, 2. So the center is going to be negative 1. Positive 2 is going to be the center. And so that should say x minus negative 1 squared plus y minus the y value of the center. And then we got to figure out what the radius is. So x minus 1 means x plus 1, which b is out because that's a minus, and d is out because that's a minus. And a and c look the same with the exception of this. So now we need to identify what the radius is because that's what this number is going to be. So the radius, let's go from this point to this point. Well, here's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So the radius is 3, and we're supposed to square it. And as long as you know 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. A lot of people want to think 3 squared is 3 times 2, which would is not true. Let's see if you can do this one on your own, and then check the solution. Check my work when you're finished. I'm looking at this right here, and I'm seeing the minus sign. I'm thinking we could probably go ahead and cross off B and D. And did any of those in the previous example have minus signs? No, they were all pluses. So, where are we at? There we go. So, okay. And then on the left side here, if you're looking on the left side, isn't this the same as this? So, I mean, basically, I mean, let's see. We have 2, negative 3. So, yeah, those are the same. Those are right. And then now what's the radius? Well, the radius is 1, 2, 3, 4 squared. How about that one? 4 squared for the radius, that gives you 16. So basically all you really had to do is cancel out B and D and then find the radius to be 4 and square it. That's how you can, if you're on a time test, that's one way. If you're not on a time test, make sure you go through every step. Okay. A circle with the equation x squared plus y squared is equal to 37 has center at 0, 0. And we talked about this briefly when I had the equation up, because if we have x minus 0, should not be an equal sign. If we have x minus 0 and we want to square that, we have y minus 0. We want to square that, and that's going to be equal to the radius squared of 37. So what's x minus 0? That's just x. Y minus 0 is just y. And so then this is how they're getting that equation. Okay. But the circle is going to be shifted 3 units to the right and 4 units down. What is the equation of the new circle? What is the equation of the new circle? 3 units to the right, 4 units down. Three units to the right. Okay, so if we're looking here, 3 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here is going to be the point. X is going to be 3. Y is going to be negative 4. X is going to be 3. Y will be negative 4. And so we notice that 37 is all the same. We notice that they all have plus signs. So that's not what we're looking at this moment. X minus 3. Wow, that makes it easy, doesn't it? No, no, and no. X minus 3, check it just to make sure that this says y minus negative 4, and it does. Letter D is your answer. Okay, those are probably level 1 or level 2 questions, which were either the easiest or the medium level of difficulty. This one here is probably either level 2 or level 3. This says, what is the standard form of this equation of a circle? Okay, first step. Well, we know we want to get the x's side by side. So that's going to say 3x squared minus, hold on here. Look here what I'm saying. I was getting in a hurry. You see how 3 goes into everything? So let me divide everything on the right side, or I'm sorry, left side by 3. And then if I do something to the left side of the equation, I have to do it to the right side of the equation. So 0 divided by 3 is just 0. And so that leaves us with x squared plus y squared minus 2x plus 6y plus 6 is equal to 0. And so now let's put the x's beside each other. Let's move the y's, y squared and positive 6y beside each other. And let's shift this over here to the right side by subtracting 6 from both sides. Now we get to call up our old friend, completing the square. You got him on the phone yet? I don't hear the phone ringing. He probably won't respond to text messages, so you probably just need to pick up the phone calling. He's kind of old school like that. So let's look at the left red rectangle there. X squared minus 2x. Let's complete the square. So we take half of this number, negative 2. We take half of that, and we want to, what's half of negative 2? Half of negative 2 is negative 1. Now let's square it, and that gives us a positive 1. So if I add 1 to the left side, I have to add 1 to the right side. Okay, now let's look at y's. So y squared plus 6y. Okay, what's half of positive 6? Well, that would be 3. Now let's square it. That gives us 9. So if we add 9 to the left side, we also have to add 9 to the right side. So this is where we're at. Okie dokie. The right side is going to be pretty simple, right? 1 plus 9 is 10, minus 6, you get 4. Now, how about this? I want to factor x squared minus 2x plus 1. Can you give me two numbers that multiply to give you 1, that add up to give you negative 2? And the reason why we complete the square is you can go through that whole process of this little table and things like that. But basically, we get the perfect square, x minus 1 in parentheses squared. How about this here? Can you give me two numbers that multiply to give you 9, that add up to give you 6? That would be positive 3 and positive 3. And so therefore, this is what we're going to get. And so we're able to identify the x value of our center, which is 1, and the y value of our center, which is negative 3. Oh, wait a minute, we don't need to identify the center. The question just says, which equation is it? So x minus 1 squared is not any of those three. Hey, who's the wise guy that did that? Should be a y there. Y plus 3. Yep, there you go. And I mean, once you got to this point, you got this first, you probably could have eliminated two choices, C and D, but okay. There's one more example like that. I would like you to work out on your own if you can, and then it's the same process, same steps, same thoughts. You can hit pause and hit play when you're ready, and you can watch my solution. Okay, I'm looking here. I cannot factor a 2 out of everything, but I will put x squared minus 2x side by side. I'm going to leave a spot here for my completing the square. I'm going to put a positive y squared and a negative 4y. I'm leaving a spot for completing the square, and then I move this 4 to the right side. So I added 4 to both sides. Half of negative 2 squared would be a positive 1. I have to add that to both sides. And half of negative 4 squared is negative 2. Or I'm sorry, half of negative 4 is negative 2. And then negative 2 squared will give me a positive 4. So then I add that to both sides. And now let's complete the square. Factor that. We should get x. What was half of negative 2? Half of negative 2 was negative 1. We're going to factor the y's. What was half of negative 4? Half of negative 4 was negative 2. 4 plus 1 plus 4 is 9. Yep, there you go. That would be the equation of a circle. So the question is, maybe now can you graph it? Well, we have negative 1, negative 2. Right there would be the center. And then, well, we know 9. That's not the radius because 9 is the radius squared. So that must mean the radius is 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Now it's going to look something like that. It's not perfect because I just freehanded it, but I would venture to say you could make it look a lot better if you were using a compass or if you were using maybe a computer program. Anyways, that was just an extension as far as graphing. I know the directions didn't ask for that. This last one here, see if you can go ahead and find the answer here. So if I'm looking here, I'm hoping you get to the point where you're able to see this happen. So if we have negative 4x, so we want to take half of this and square it to get a positive 4. And so then factor this. So this is going to be, what's half of negative 4? Right there. And so I only dealt with the x's up here. So so there we go with that part of it. And now remember, if I added 4 here, I have to add 4 to 23, and that gets me 27. So now let's look at the y's. If I have y squared plus 6y, and I take half of 6, that's 3, and I square it, so that's going to give me 9. So this is going to be y, what's half of 6? 3. The plus sign here. Remember, if I added 9, I have to add 9 here, so that gives me 36, which cancels out the first two choices. And so, right here, you have to know that this is a positive 2 and a negative 3 for the center. Positive 2, negative 3 for the center. Okie dokie. I know that was a quick run through on circles, but that's a good introduction. So you let me know if you have any questions, and I will get those answered for you.